G'day there guys, half a beard and ready to get weird here. Back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole? Now if you love this content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good questions. Posted by user Heck Dang It. Titled, Am I the A-hole for getting my family to do a swear tax after my dad told me off for swearing? My dad and brothers cuss like sailors, but apparently me cussing is unladylike. I'm living with my family. It's me, a 15-year-old girl, my twin brothers who are 17, and my parents. My dad cusses a lot, and so do my older brothers. But apparently, the standards are different for me. My dad overheard me saying a couple of cuss words when I was on the phone with my friends, and he got mad at me for my language, and for how trashy and unladylike it was. This wasn't the first time he called me, and only me, out for bad language. But it was the one that frustrated me the most because I could tell there was a double standard. I thought of calling him out on his language and hypocrisy, but then I had a different idea. I said that yeah, it was a bad habit I was forming and didn't want to make a pattern because if I got in the habit of cussing a lot, that wouldn't make me come off well when I start getting jobs or going to college. And as I was growing up, I wanted to learn how to speak respectfully and intelligently. But it was hard to keep from bad habits when I heard him and my brothers having potty mouth syndrome so often. They're setting a bad example whether they realize it or not, so I wanted to work on things for myself, but also together as a family. I suggested we make a swear tax, where if anyone swears in front of anyone else who's participating, they give $1 to each person who heard them. I'd want that rule for myself because it would keep me accountable and I'd really like it if my family joined me for it. So, my dad said he'd join, and so would my mum. They got my brothers to be a part of it too. They didn't really have a choice. My parents decided to make it a rule. I know it's kinda petty, but I wanted to make the point that my dad and brothers swear a lot, and I almost never do. In the few months we've had the rule, I've gotten about $250 from hearing my dad and brothers cuss, and have not sworn once. It's kinda making my brothers angry because they often cuss when they're mad, and I ask them for money. So they get madder and cuss more, so I get more money until they shut up. My dad actually got mad at me too. He was having some drinks, calling his brother and talking, and I came over after and asked for $18. He actually said he wouldn't give me that much and that there should be a cutoff. He gave me $5, which sends a weird message. Like, swearing is bad? Unless you want to swear a lot, then it's cool? I feel I've made my point already, so really now I'm just continuing to want the family to learn not to cuss for the money, and it's really making my brothers mad. Am I the a-hole for having the idea of the family swear tax after my dad got angry at me for swearing? I did it because I know I swear the least out of my family, but I was the only one getting in trouble for it. Gonna say that you're not the a-hole? That is a disgusting double standard to have in the family? And while I understand they want the best for you, the way they're going about it is not the best. And I suggest you either double down on this or just leave it and continue on with your own life. It's really up to whatever you want to do with your life, OP. Not the a-hole. They agreed to it, they have to play by the rules. Amazing how OP made them literally pay for their hypocrisy and sexist view on her swearing. It's a good lesson. Too bad they apparently aren't learning it. Hopefully the brothers will. They have more of a chance of learning than the dad because they're still kids. But I doubt the brothers gave a crap about her swearing in the first place, though. Not the a-hole. That was actually a genius way to handle the situation. I would have been petty and angry and would just swear more, especially after the unladylike comment. I'd just reply to every swear word they say with one of my own. If no one is swearing, make 'em up. Use weird, old TV swear words like smeg. I despise the double standard for this, so tell them off however you like, not the a-hole. Posted by user Am I the A-hole thrown away? Titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking out my daughter after she tried to send my cat to the shelter? The relevant backstory. I have two daughters, one is 21 and in college, the other is 26, and because of a lot of factors, finds herself pregnant, divorcing her husband, and needing to live in our house for the foreseeable future, and I am happily married to their mother. The other notable character is my cat Lieutenant. We call her Loot. I found Loot in a dumpster almost 10 years ago when she was only a week old, got her to the vet, and she's been my best buddy for the last decade. She's now my grumpy old little shadow whenever I'm home. So yesterday I came home from work, and I hear my eldest daughter calling me from the kitchen. My wife and eldest then tell me that Loot is getting old, Dad, and with the baby coming, we didn't think it was safe to keep an old grouchy cat around an infant. So we made the decision today to send Loot to a shelter so that she can find a family that is more in line with what she needs. I told them both they were way out of line. Not in so many words, and we would talk when we get back. I'd drive to the closest shelter, find Loot, prove ownership, pay the $100 fee to get her back, and take her home. So here's the drama part. When I get home, I call a family meeting and tell my eldest she doesn't get to make decisions about my pets without consulting me. Loot only wants to be left alone, and even if it came to it, I would rather exhaust all my options before putting Loot through life at a shelter. My eldest began arguing with me that Loot would be a liability around an infant, and she's unpredictable. Untrue, she's either asleep, sitting on her cat tree, or eating. At that point, I saw red and told her that my cat is well trained, and dared her to come up with one instance of Loot even scratching someone, which she couldn't, but kept insisting that old cats are inherently dangerous for kids. I then told her that she had 1 month to get a new place to live, as she clearly doesn't respect me or my things, and that if Loot so much as lost a whisker, I would hold her personally responsible. My wife and younger daughter are now begging me to change my mind, as with my eldest's current financial condition, I would probably be condemning her to homelessness, and that my daughter should come before a cat. Am I the a-hole for kicking my daughter out after she tried to get rid of my cat? Edit to add, as many people have brought up, no, I am not being as hard on my wife as my daughter. My wife came up to me last night and basically begged for forgiveness, saying she wasn't thinking and just accepted the things my daughter was saying without checking, which is very out of character for her. So I told her I will need some space for the foreseeable future, but that she and I are okay. Loot is already microchipped and wears a collar and tag. I've also contacted all the shelters around my area and sent them Loot's picture, chip ID, and my contact information, and an explanation that I'm worried someone may surrender my cat without my permission. No, OP, you're not the a-hole for being this cautious and for kicking her out of the house. If you had one of your parents still living with you that's an old decrepit person, would they say, old people are inherently dangerous to babies, therefore we need to send them to the old folks' home to be condemned for the rest of their life? No. This cat has a good track record. Its entire life, it's had nothing wrong with it. What makes her think that just because the cat gets old, it's going to start attacking everyone? Stupid mindset. She can deal with the consequences of her actions. I don't care. Get her out of the house, teach her a lesson, let her deal with her consequences of her actions. Not the a-hole. Her entitlement astounds me. She's a complete a-hole for thinking she can remove a member of your family without consulting you. As far as I'm concerned, she did this to herself. 100%. Pets are family, and it's heartbreaking to see pets surrendered in situations like these. My fiancé have a total of 3 cats, and we would never think to get rid of them when we have a kid. Not only that, but for her to come into their home and make that unilateral decision? Entitlement indeed. Edit, OP, you're not the a-hole. Also, I suppose it might be different if you've got an animal known for aggressive behavior, but that's still something that would require a conversation. It would in no way give someone, family or not, the right to remove that animal from your home, especially after you've graciously provided them lodging. While I get pregnancy hormones are a thing and her situation is probably incredibly stressful, that in no way gives her a pass to do something so crappy. Pets are exactly family. OP's daughter is indeed entitled and 100% an a-hole. Honestly, between this pregnant daughter and the other post where the pregnant sister wants her brother to get rid of his dog, these are narcissistic women who lack empathy and compassion and therefore have no business with having children anyway. Oof. Absolutely. I can see being worried by the cat will steal the baby's breath nonsense from the Middle Ages when your hormones are playing ping pong with your brain. But anyone with an ounce of critical thinking skills is going to be able to refute it in their sleep. Absolutely not the a-hole, OP. I'm glad you were able to find Loot. Poor kitty must have been terrified. Not the a-hole. Making that kind of decision about your cat smacks of entitlement. And in regards to this section, First, I do not agree this condemns her to homelessness. She might just have to get a job and room with someone else who has cats, or sleep on a friend's couch for a while. She also might learn that the world does not owe her a living. Not to mention that putting an elderly cat in a shelter means that there's a high likelihood of that elderly cat living out the rest of its days in the shelter, and those days being quite few due to being euthanized. Exactly. It's just a horribly cruel thing to do to an animal. Not the a-hole, and honestly, your wife is a huge a-hole as well. I would be just as mad at her as the daughter. She knows she's on thin ice. She's already apologized and admitted she assumed my eldest was telling her objective facts and never thought to verify her claims. I've asked her to give me space for a few days and she is obliged. Yikes. Does your wife normally exhibit a total lack of common sense, or is this new behavior? This is really out of character for her. She has no idea what came over her, and neither do I. Posted by user, I can't even read that name, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend's mother she raised a fudging sociopath who needs to be in a facility? So, I, female 26, have a boyfriend, male 24, and recently he got into a dispute with the neighbor's kids. They accidentally kicked their football into our yard, and they came into the garden to get it back. To be honest, I didn't care, but my boyfriend started screaming at these 11-year-olds about how they're poorly raised and their parents should be ashamed. I was fudging mortified. I sent the kids some chocolates and sweets and apologized profusely for his behavior. I was seeing red flags and told him this behavior was not normal. He kind of brushed me off, and I told him if he pulled anything like that again, he was gone. The next week, the ball came into our garden, and I was about to throw it back to the kids when my boyfriend storms outside and took the ball inside. I told the kids that I would bring it back in a minute, and he went into the bathroom and emerged 10 minutes later, wearing gloves and a football covered in crap. His own crap. What the hell? I asked him if he was out of his fudging mind, but he stormed past me and threw it over the fence screaming, "Take that, you bitch." I screamed, and girl, I mean screamed at him about he was a fudging douche, and I wanted him out of my house, and he's a disgusting fudging monster, and that they were just kids. I screamed, and eventually he left. I deleted all of his games off his PS4 and gave it to the kids as an apology. I was so embarrassed. My ex-boyfriend's mum messaged me asking what happened, and I responded with, "What happened? What happened? You are a pathetic excuse of a woman who raised a fudging sociopath who covered a football in his own crap and threw it at some kids, and he needs to be in a facility because something is wrong with him, and God knows how I hadn't seen any red flags about the fudging monster you raised during the 7 months we dated. I know I am in the right for what I did to my boyfriend, but am I in the wrong for snapping at the mother for something she had no direct involvement in?" Initially, I thought this was some entitled parents level stuff. I was like, am I just going to remove this story? It sounds a bit too, iffy to exist. But then I read some comments down below, and it's actually fairly common that people coat things in feces when they're having mental snaps. So that's probably unfortunately what's going on here. I think he just had a psychotic episode of some sorts, and man really does need some help. I'm going to say in regards to the conversation with her and the mother, she's the a-hole here for just directly going off at the mother. She didn't even talk to her like a normal person. She let her emotions fly, and she just attacked a poor woman who really did not have a hand in this. The mum did not cause the boyfriend to do this. I don't see a logical explanation for that. I know the boyfriend is an a-hole for doing it, but this is all we know from the ex-boyfriend's mother. All we know is this text conversation. She's not given us anything else to work with. So therefore, OP is the a-hole. You're the a-hole for blaming a grown adult's mother for his behavior. Why is his mum messaging his ex-girlfriend? The mum might have been the one to manage his emotions before her, so when he was kicked out, it was right back to mum. Still, if she didn't teach him to be self-sufficient, then at least part of the blame is on the mother. Well, in fairness, to the mother it's not uncommon for there to be no issues or symptoms of mental illness until late teens/early 20s. It's possible this was the boyfriend's first mental episode. True, OP didn't realize he had major issues until their football episode, and she's been living with him, the 7 months we dated. This is why you don't move in with or let somebody move in with you after only a few months of dating, kids. It's entirely possible that this is not a mental episode or illness at all. The guy could just be an a-hole. An over-the-top dramatic a-hole, but an a-hole nonetheless. The dude smeared his crap all over a bowl and threw it at some kids. This is almost certainly a mental episode. Hey man, maybe he was just slightly upset. You're the a-hole for sending the messages, cause I'm sure she would have maybe understood how angry you were if you came across nicer. But wow, I can't even imagine being in your position. Has he done anything like this before? Edit, I did not mean that OP is the a-hole for the entire situation. It's a very soft you're the a-hole, sorry for any confusion. And OP says, no, I always thought he was calm. It came completely out of the blue. Posted by user KvatchDididach, titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out on a double date my friend set up with him, his girlfriend, and a girl I had already rejected before? I feel like I need to say this for this post not to be removed. This is not about the date, about relationships, or something I wanted judgment on me walking out of there. Cast are me, 25 male, Joe, 26 male, and Jane, 24 female. To give you a little background to this situation, I met Jane through Joe's girlfriend at her birthday party last year. At first, Jane was fun to talk to, but not even an hour later, Jane was really into me and tried really badly to hit on me during the party, which pretty much ruined my time there, as the feeling was not mutual in the slightest bit. Also at the time, I was already with someone. So the first impression I got from Jane was that she was clingy, annoying, and just wouldn't stop bothering me. Unfortunately for me, she became part of my larger friend group because she's part of Joe's girlfriend's friend group. That is a mouthful, sheesh. And because me and Joe hang out a lot, and I'm also friends with his girlfriend, I pretty much run into her at minimum twice a month. So, first time Jane asked me out was a month after that party. I informed her I was with someone and not interested. She tried again 2 months later when I broke up with my then girlfriend. Again, I declined her advances and told her I'm not interested. I got into a new relationship not long after, but unfortunately she and I broke up about 2 months ago. Since then, as you might have anticipated, Jane has asked me out again, and I said no again. Well, that brings us to this week. Everything has been opening up here, and Joe had been trying to fix me up with a friend of his girlfriend, and he would not tell me who. He is well aware of me having rejected Jane multiple times, and the fact I'm not interested in her. He knows this in detail. After a lot of what he calls convincing, and I call whining, I had no interest in dating anytime soon. I relented, and decided to agree to this double date idea of his. We agree on meeting at Joe's apartment, and lo and behold, Joe, his girlfriend, and Jane are occupying the dinner table, obviously intending for my date to be Jane. I honestly just got so goddamn angry that I couldn't even get a single word out, turned around, and left. I have been bombarded with texts and calls about how much of a douche I am, and how terribly I hurt Jane, and so on. And I'm just like, I literally rejected her like 3 times. I'm not interested in her. You knew that. Your girlfriend knew that. Our entire friend group has a running joke about Obsessive Jane. FFS. So literally everyone knows it. So am I the a-hole? I would say no, he's not the a-hole. Imagine if the roles were switched in this one. It's like a creepy guy that you're like, whoa, he's like continually hitting on me. He's continually trying to set up a date with me. He won't take no for an answer. And most people in the same situation, if it was a guy that the girl had turned down, everyone would be like, why are you forcing her into that situation? She's obviously said no, and no means no. Get the hint, buddy. So I don't see why this friend group thinks it's okay for them to put their girlfriend on him continuously. Doesn't make any sense to me. OP is not the a-hole. I completely support your reaction to this. Not the a-hole, but your friend obviously is. Setting someone up with someone who rejected that person is cruel. Not the fact that you turned around. I would honestly have done the same. Jane is just as much an a-hole as the rest. She knew what was up. Agree. Jane isn't some innocent bystander here. She's been rejected a half-dozen times at this point, but can't take no for an answer. It's beyond harassment at this point. Can you imagine if Jane was a dude and OP was a girl? Like, the level of creep? Edit, I didn't mean to imply anything sexist. I just meant that the level of creepy would be way more obvious if the genders were reversed, and everyone would immediately know that it's wrong. So in OP's situation, it should also be obvious that Jane is being very creepy, despite the fact that the genders are reversed from the usual situations. Sorry for any misunderstanding caused. Would be much more obvious to some, yes. Either gender doing this is creepy as hell. This being supported by OP's should be now ex-friend is also awful. Not the a-hole, OP. Not the a-hole. You've made your feelings more than clear to Jane and your friends as well. You had every right to leave, as you'd already rejected her 3 times, and still, she set herself up for rejection number 4. You're not responsible for her hurt feelings at this point. Your friend should have known better than to blindside you with a date with someone he knows full well you have zero interest in. Though, if I might venture a guess, I'd say that the double date was 100% Jane's and your friend's girlfriend's idea, and your friend most likely just got pressured into convincing you to come. Even so, he's one of my best friends. He shouldn't be screwing me over like that. Even if it was 100% their idea, I still blame Joe most. I agree with you 100%. Regardless if he got pressured into it or not, as your friend, he should absolutely have let you know what the girls were planning so that you could have avoided the whole situation. You have every right to be upset. Not the a-hole. Everyone else is the a-hole in the situation. If the roles were reversed, and you were a woman and Jane was a man, I'm sure no one would be giving you a hard time right now. Agreed, not the a-hole. This behavior is creepy and obsessive regardless of sex. Posted by user, What About T? Titled, Am I the a-hole for ruining my brother-in-law's day with a purposeful fart? Brother-in-law and husband co-own a house that was passed to them by their father. We live in one half while brother-in-law lives in the other. The only thing we share is the living room and kitchen, the rest is completely separate. Lately, brother-in-law has been making odd comments about my ladylikeness. I am a down-home, backwoods, dirt under my fingernails, still play in the mud puddles, basically wood rat of a woman. He's been cutting into hard labor chores I do, and tells me he'll do it so I don't hurt myself or get dirty. He'll make positive comments when he sees me cleaning, lucky man, and says things like, I've never seen you cook, you should cook more. Note, he does not cook either. I like to look nice here and there. Whenever I do dress up and do makeup, brother-in-law makes comments about how I should do it more often, and I look super nice. He said, what, dressing up for a husband? All of these I shut down with, I do it when I feel like it, I'm doing it for me, etc. He is not a bad dude overall, he's actually a riot to hang out with. But it's little subtle things that spread out and it digs at me as roommates do. Luckily, we're moving soon. Anyways, yesterday I belched in the kitchen because I thought no one was around. Brother-in-law pops his head in and jokes, have you ever thought about being more ladylike? Now, the tone is joking, but the word ladylike is like my emotional tailgating car. Tailgating only makes the person in front slow down. Telling me to be ladylike makes me turn that crap way down. I have mad props to graceful and more traditional ladies if they like it, but I am not one. I say nope, and he replies, you should consider it, and leaves the room. So this morning, I'm walking by the living room, brother-in-law is watching the morning news, and I decide to grace the room with a big, long fart. This is the just woke up and crap is moving fart. It's the fart that has been building all night. It is loud, it has vibration, and even in the tiny room, it echoes. I'd honestly give it a good 9 out of 10. It was a damn masterpiece. I thought it was hilarious immediately. Brother-in-law not so much. He proceeds to jump up and rage about how gross it was. Bloody hell, I've heard him blow out farts before, and how women shouldn't do that. Unfortunately, by this time I am doubled over in tears because I can't stop remembering the farts, and his rage has made it even funnier. He gets beyond mad and storms off to his bedroom. It's now 9 PM, and he is still enraged and hiding in his room. He says it was an a-hole move, which is technically the truth. And at first, thought it was funny too, but now since it's upset his bro so bad, he's leaning towards maybe it was too much and too immature, and that I should have just told him that he was being overbearing. I feel like, as a 37-year-old man, brother-in-law should have known better than to think he can tell a grown woman how to behave. It probably would have been better to talk about it, but who pouts all day over a fart? So, am I the a-hole for solving problems with an a-hole? Edit, just woke up to this, combing through comments and loving it. Brother-in-law came to me when I went to go make coffee and said I made him feel uncomfortable in his own house. I told him it's my house too, and I've seen him do the same unashamedly. He made a couple "but I'm a man" comments, and I called it out as sexist. He asked me how it was, and I said how it was not. After a few back and forths, he started to understand that he is not my husband, this is my house too, and I do not and will not ever meet his southern standard for a woman. He wraps it up with, "I guess it was kind of funny," and stalks off. I left a coffee peace offering in the living room, where he is enjoying Saturday morning programming without a violent crop burst. We're all going to make dinner tonight and have a family makeup with hopefully no dinner table farts. I have some standards, people. All in all, pretty damn good end results, and I bet I will never hear "be ladylike" from him again. Still, reading every comment, what a way to wake up. You are all a riot. I'd say OP's not the a-hole, it kind of turned out that way in the end. I think we're going further and further into the future at this point, and we don't have the same standards for women like we did back in the day, which is understandable, equality for all. Let's not put them in a box and be like, well, you can only be this idea that I have of you. No, that's an archaic mindset, and I don't understand it or back it at all. I understand that we have boundaries, but people can be who they want to be. Let a woman fart, for goodness sake. Not the a-hole, but you have to be careful with fragile men's egos. It must have hurt him being so upstaged like that. By the way, if I had any coins, I'd give you gold for just the description alone. I may or may not have laughed a lot while typing it out. Your description had me so cackling as I read it out loud. Lol, I just read it to my husband and we did the same. My daughter and I include farting as part of the fight against the patriarchy. Oh god. Not the a-hole. Sounds like he's sexist and is projecting his views and assumptions of how a woman should be on you. You keep doing you. Sounds like it was a good fart, and brother-in-law should learn to lighten up. They make a children's book called Everyone Farts. He should read it. I misread lighten up as light it up, and was immediately concerned about lighting anything with that much gas in the room. Also, not the a-hole. Posted by user Am I the a-hole one time? Titled, Am I the a-hole for not specifying my medical condition to my significant other? I, female 31, met my boyfriend N, male 33, about a year ago. A few years ago, I developed a medical condition which was treated by a hysterectomy, a removal of the uterus. This of course caused me to be completely unable to have my own children. A few weeks after I met N, I told him that I'm infertile, knowing that at our age, this is important information and may be a deal breaker. He reacted pretty sweet. He told me that it's okay and he doesn't think of me less because of that. I asked him if he didn't mind never having children with me, and he said he'll deal with that when the time comes. I think that was the moment when I should have corrected him or say anything, because there is nothing to deal with. But I thought to myself that maybe he meant adoption or something. The next time when I think I should have said something was a few months later, when his friend informed us that he and his fiancée are expecting a child. They had some difficulties, and apparently it took them several years to succeed. Anne said that night, "You see? The doctor told them they couldn't have children too, and look, here they are. Miracle babies happen all the time." I just said something like, "Good for them," and changed the topic. 2 weeks ago, he moved in with me. As we unpacked his stuff, he said, "Okay, now can we start looking for some therapies for you? I managed to save some money, we can deal with that now." I asked him what the hell is he planning to deal with. He said with my alleged infertility. I asked him again, what the hell does he mean alleged? He said, like my friends. They were also supposed to be infertile, and now they have a newborn at home. I replied to him saying that I'm happy for them, but every case is different, and in my case, it's completely not possible because I don't have any uterus. He was furious, started to yell that I should have told him that in the first place, and that I misled him. From my point of view, I told him enough, and he is an adult, so he made a conscious decision to stay with me. We fight about it ever since. So am I the a-hole for not telling him exactly what condition makes me sterile? Edit, I think I should clear that up. English is not our language. In our language, there are no separate words for infertile and sterile. There is only one word for both things. I'm gonna say, it's a leaning on a you're the a-hole, but it's not. I don't think she can be blamed. She told him straight up, I can't have kids. He misinterpreted it, and he didn't ask specifics. She also didn't offer specifics, so it's a very grey, muddy water type area, but she did say from the get-go, it's not gonna happen, it's never gonna happen. And he still chose to go into the relationship with that regardless. The burden is on him now, in my opinion. I don't think OP is the a-hole. Not the a-hole at all. He didn't ask for details beyond what you told him. It is his own fault for thinking all infertility was the same. Also, his fault for assuming OP would want kids if she could have them. I'm sorry, OP, not the a-hole. Yeah, he just decided they're going to deal with it and that's it. No talk about him wanting children, changing his mind or whatever. He saved money up for it and is going to deal with it? What the hell? On top of all, going out of his way to find treatments without even asking her. And they have a year of relationship. Not the a-hole, but please have a serious conversation with your boyfriend, OP. Yeah, from a normal person's perspective, the phrase, we'll deal with that later, in this context, is 100% more indicative of the mindset of, well, we're not going to get married or try for children together right away, so if it isn't an immediate issue, if our relationship progresses to a certain point, or seems to be getting serious, then maybe we can revisit the conversation. Not, your being infertile would in fact theoretically be a deal breaker for me, but I think that I instinctively know more about your condition and your body than you do, so we'll definitely be able to fix you with the appropriate medical treatments and therapies. My brain is scrambled eggs after reading that. Don't forget that miracle baby was his plan. He was thinking that from the moment she told him. Such an a-hole. And he doesn't even get done unpacking before he's already deciding on medical treatments for her without bothering to talk to her about it first. He has been saving up without talking to her about if she wants to do the treatments. He is an a-hole. Not the a-hole OP, he should probably move out. Yeah, fertility treatments aren't pleasant at the best of times. You don't just assume that someone will go through a physically and mentally difficult process because you want them to. A-hole. It's a sickening attitude, like he thinks of her as some kind of animal he decides to breed. Yeah, that's what I was getting to, in all honesty. I think that's where I'm going to leave today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. Sorry this is a little bit later of an upload. If you saw my community post, I did say I was having a rest day yesterday. I had a big Saturday night with my cousins and we had a bit too much to drink, so I just took all of yesterday off because I was so sick. But I'm good now, I'm happy. Hope you guys enjoyed the episodes. Say hi to outro Markee. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe because I love your face and I love seeing you here every single day that you are here in this video. I don't know what else to say today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. I do have a second channel that's called Markee2. Link should be up on the screen somewhere here if you don't have adblock installed. If you don't know where to find the channel, you can go to my main page. Just click on the Markee face and it should be on the right, somewhere there, or on channels if you're on phone. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.